I am here as a state representative, but also as a mom who homeschooled my 2 boys for a year in elementary school. And if my curriculum were scrutinized, I'm not really sure how everyone would feel about it. But I believe that teaching my children the truth and accurate account of our country's origin, starting with the indigenous people whose land was ravaged and whose culture was destroyed. So that's what I did. My ancestors, Mayflower people, took part in this. While stating that does not evoke a sense of pride, it certainly doesn't make me feel ashamed. With limited time, I'm just going to shorten it up. I'm going to respond to the question I've heard repeated here today. I keep hearing, essentially, that this bill's language is innocuous, that there is no harm, and that it seeks to create a colorblind society. It is indeed an unnecessary bill, and it would seem an unpopular one, as evidenced by the fact that it was added into the budget rather than standing on its own merit. The real question is, what was the point of it? What was the point of passing an unnecessary and unpopular bill? And we can see that in its impact. Fortunately, we have not seen cases yet, and to be fair, we really wouldn't, because there wasn't a problem with this in the first place. But we have seen extreme scrutiny and unrest in school board meetings around curriculum, attacks on our teachers, school board members, and public servants in the name of so-called divisive concepts. We have seen the removal of books that many in my generation hold dear. We've heard teachers express deep concern and fear in approaching topics which are essential to a child's comprehensive understanding of our history and of human nature. In my district, I see the manifestation of unrestrained hate in our schools. Our children have been through a lot, and the manifestation is coming out as ignorance, of racism, and of homophobia. In the name of reducing division that this bill purports, of relieving guilt, of creating a colorblind utopia, this bill in fact invites contention, erasure, and division. I urge you to support HB 61. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee? Not seeing you. Thank you. Next person is Representative. I didn't realize that you're in this bundle here. Representative Nick Germain from Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to members of the committee. Special thanks to members of the public who are here to testify today, and also to the scores of teachers who are working hard with our children in classrooms right now, who I know filled out online testimony that the committee will have the opportunity to see. I am a representative from Keene. I am also a professional historian, an academic historian, and I want to address specifically the question that some of the committee members have raised about what it is about the current law that inhibits or prohibits teachers from being able to do their jobs. Much of the drama around how U.S. history is taught results from a misunderstanding about the nature of systemic racism and what that term systemic racism means. We know, for example, that the origins of policing in the American South grew out of slave patrols in the 19th century. We know that the creation and organization of police forces in northern cities in the United States was a direct response to the great migration of Black Americans out of the South, fleeing lynching in the 1920s and the 1930s. We also know that after World War II, the Veterans Administration engaged in inequitable distribution of resources around home loans for veterans, which meant that Black veterans did not receive the resources that white veterans did. That leads over generations to a major difference in terms of the accumulation of wealth between the families of those white veterans and Black veterans, all of whom valiantly served our country. We also know that the penal system in the South, which was then exported to much of the rest of the country, was a large part of an effort to effectively re-enslave free people through the mass incarceration of blacks on farms where they were forced into labor to benefit the states and private employers. We know that redlining, which was referred to earlier, was a common practice, which again prevented black families in the United States from buying homes and accumulating the wealth that whites were able to accumulate. And we all know, of course, that all of our homes rest on land that was stolen from Native peoples. Our financial security as homeowners in this state rests on the fact that this land was taken from the people who rightfully owned it in the first place. Now, to say that we all, as white Americans, benefit from those systems that were designed to perpetuate racial inequality is not the same as saying that white people are inherently racist. But there are those who will argue, based upon the vague language of this law, that that's exactly what it does. If a student goes home to a parent or a parent feels that teaching about these systemic inequalities in our system is effectively saying that white people are guilty, it opens teachers up to this response.
Representative, your time is up.
Thank you. I just want to add very quickly, I'm a German historian, and I cannot imagine for the life of me that a bill like this would ever be introduced in Germany today.
Thank you very much for your testimony.